This video will demonstrate the use of the ERDAS Apollo Data Manager to code, edit, and validate ISO metadata in the ISO 19115 standard format or a profile of that standard. Let's begin by crawling some data with an associated ISO metadata file. Here you can see an IMG file along with its associated ISO metadata file in XML format. So let's initiate a crawl of this data within Data Manager by placing it under the root aggregate. We will select the crawl file system. Then from here we can either type the directory or make use of the browse button to locate the folder containing our data. Once that has been entered, we will take the defaults until we reach the metadata parsers page, where we will select the ISO 19139 option, which represents the schema of the ISO metadata. Then we'll continue to the wizard and select Finish. We can monitor the progress on the Jobs tab, but once the crawl has completed, this entry will disappear. Once it has disappeared, we can then refresh our Explorer window and we see our metadata management aggregate directly under root. By selecting it, as well as the Datasets tab, we can see our IMG file that was crawled into the catalog. By selecting the dataset itself, we see the various properties of the file provided by the decoding of the file as well as the decoding of the associated metadata file. If we right-click on the file, we see an option to generate ISO metadata. This option builds the metadata information from the IMG properties, the metadata file properties, and default values where needed. Then we can right-click on the dataset and say Show ISO metadata. We can then detach this from the current window in order to enlarge it and for better viewing. We can either see the metadata in summary mode or full mode. For the purpose of this video, we will use the full mode option. We can begin to understand the structure of the ISO metadata by browsing through the various categories and properties of this interface. But let's say we identify the need to make updates. We can select the Edit button to swap the interface to the metadata editor. Now, we see the structure of the ISO metadata shown in the tree view on the left. We can use the tree to navigate to an area of the metadata and then add new metadata values or edit existing values using the interface on the right. Let's make a simple edit in the information category. We'll select the subcategory of Contact 1 and we'll change the role to an editor. You can continue to make changes on your own, but how do you know that you have completed all required fields and that the values of those fields are valid? This is where the validation tool comes in. We will select the Choose Standard drop-down menu in the upper right-hand corner. Notice the menu has the base ISO metadata standard as well as some popular profile standards of ISO 19115. We will select the base standard for this demonstration. Once selected, you will notice that the tree panel now contains red text. This signifies that some values in that category are empty or have invalid values. If we select one of the categories with the red text, we see the invalid fields are also highlighted in red. By updating these fields to contain valid values, you will notice the red highlighting goes away. And when all fields within a given category are correct, the text in the tree view changes from red to black. You can continue to update the invalid fields until there is no longer red text. At this point, you have complete and compliant metadata. One thing to note at this point, do not select the Generate ISO Metadata menu option unless you want to start over. This will not maintain changes you have recently made. By maintaining proper metadata, the Apollo catalog will support your organization much more effectively.